Hey guys, how's it going? And welcome to this live showdown between Professor Pone, who's going to be playing the Dark Elves led by Malekith the Witch King, and Gojira Gaming, who's going to be playing the Greenskins led by Warlord Skarsnik. And it looks like he's got some trolls and spiders and all kinds of shenanigans going on. So as far as Professor Pone's army, it looks like in the front line, it's going to be a combination of elite infantry, so a couple of groups of the Hargoneth Executioners. Probably going to be using those guys to take down Black Orcs, and honestly, with their anti-infantry bonus, these guys can kind of chew through pretty much any infantry. I think regular Black Orcs do win against Hargoneth one-on-one, but they'll definitely lose to the Blades of the Blood Queen. Although I need to do some testing. The Hargoneth might actually be able to beat them. But he's got Hargoneth here in the center on the outsides of the formation. It looks like a couple of groups of Dread Spears, so 3 in total. Probably going to be using those to defend the flank attacks from Gojira, because he does have some Goblin Wolf Riders and some other funny business out here on the outskirts of the battlefield. In the back, he does have some Witch Elves, so looking to maybe rampage if the Ragnarok Queen or a Greenskin Lord or Skarsnik gets a little bit too overextended. These Witch Elves can definitely do very well in rampaging and dragging those targets down. Malekith on a Dragon, definitely very scary. He's got the Destroyer and some other good abilities. But it looks like Professor Pone also does have the Raven's Herald. So these are the ROR repeaters. And I don't know if the Greenskins have enough. Yeah, they actually have missiles back here. So I was like, I don't see them. But yeah, this is going to be really rough. The Raven's Heralds are incredibly squishy. Oh, they have 0 armor right now because their armor's sundered. But yeah, he's going to have to be very tactical with these. If I were Professor Pone, I'd probably keep them in the back line and wait for the Ragnarok Queen to overextend. But look at the damage they actually did to that. So they might actually pay for themselves if he's able to escape the missile fire of Gojira. So for Gojira's army, a very goblin-centric army. He's got nasty skulkers across the entire front line. He does have the RORs, it looks like. So these are the 8-peak loonies, I think. And the Rustiers, but yeah, a very, very kind of a fickle front line. I feel like the goblins are going to buckle pretty quick, but the Ragnarok Queen and the trolls definitely going to be pretty good counters against the Hargoneth Executioners, who are taking a ton of firepower from these Doomdiver catapults. So it looks like there's some shenanigans going on here. But right now you can see Professor Pone is going to be advancing up the hill. The trolls are awaiting the charge. How many Doomdivers does he have? It looks like there's just one back here, but man, it's actually doing quite a bit of damage. So the lad's coming in here, slamming into these Hargoneth Executioners. Professor Pone, in the meantime, coming around the flank with Malekith, and like he's going to get a chill wind. He gets it right down the formation of those Gabos. Yeah, it's a pretty cheap spell and does some okay damage there, but it's going to be interesting. Malekith needs to be careful. There's a lot of smoke bombs. Skarsnik does some anti-large and armor piercing, and a very good breath attack right there, just roasting these. Oh my god, they got deleted! The Rusty Airs just got absolutely deleted by that breath and Gaze of Malice combination. That was just some disgusting stuff right there. Now the infantry fight's going to be underway here. So the Slaanesha's Harvesters in the back just kind of parked. Looks like Gojira is watching them with the Ragnarok Queen, seeing what he wants to do here. But that is a lot of Dark Elf pressure, and he definitely wants to rescue. Here comes the charge. Looks like these guys are pretty much unguarded. It's going to be tough for the lads coming in here. So that's a rough initial engagement. The Ragnarok Queen definitely needs to get in there. So looks like he might be busy in the front line. So Soul Stealer going down, hitting all of the goblins, and within a matter of seconds, they're already broken, pretty much at full health. And the trolls rushing it. And you know when the trolls are having to come to the rescue that things are looking a little bit grim. So the trolls come in there, and the Word of Pain gets cast on them. So Professor Pone really on top of his abilities right now. That's going to mitigate their melee attack, putting them down to 17. So still putting a bit of a beating on those Hargoneth Executioners. On the far side, the Nasty Skulkers are prison shanking some of these Dread Spears, and the trolls are also saturated and kicking some of them. As long as the trolls aren't fighting them alone, they can actually do pretty good. But it looks like the Dark Elves are indeed going to get their murderous prowess, as the trolls actually do buckle this formation a little bit. So they're wrapping up and around. The Ragnarok Queen has gotten into the main fight. Warlord Skarsnik and Gobla, they look to be eating. Oh, Gobla actually ate someone there. Look at that. Ugh. Man, he ate one of those Hargoneth Executioners. Oh, is he going for a second one? 2 in a row. Gobla just ate 2 guys. Like, damn, nature, you scary. But anyways, up in the sky, Malekith trying to rain some fire down, but Gobla is just beast moding it in the main line. And I really thought that the Greenskins were just going to lose it, like right out of the gates after their back line got compromised, but they're actually putting up a pretty good fight here. The Ragnarok Queen is taking a bit of damage. Very good stuff from the Raven's Heralds. They're actually finding a bit of a niche here because the Greenskin missile line did get compromised. You can see that the Doomdivers and all these troops in the back are basically running off, so there's not really any answer to the Raven's Heralds at this point. But the Ragnarok Queen and the Trolls still fighting pretty hard. Gobla definitely very well fed down there. And this could be maybe a turning point here. If the Ragnarok Queen plus Skarsnik can actually get some damage on Malekith, maybe they could turn it around, but it looks like he's rushing back there. Is he actually broken? Let's look. Yeah, it looks like the Ragnarok Queen actually broken. So the bounce power is shifting in the favor of the great Professor Pone, his dragon sitting triumphantly over the Goblin Hordes. Skarsnik's down here somewhere. I'm actually not sure. Let's see if we can go ahead and find him. But the Night Goblin Shaman being chased off by some of these Hargoneth Executioners, and they're definitely going to make short work. He is infantry sized, so man, look, just look at him scurrying. All those Hargoneth Executioners chasing him down. That's a little bit rough, but yeah. So the Night Goblin Shaman shattered. That's going to be pretty much it. So hey, it was a bit of a rough game for the lads here. They kind of got swarmed by the Dark Elves, but at least we got to see Skarsnik and Gobla, and he did eat a couple of guys, so that was kind of cool to see. But I really like Professor Pone's army, and it was cool to see the Raven's Heralds used somewhat effectively, because normally they just get taken out so quick. But they were actually able to do a ton of damage to the Arachnoid Queen. I kept like looking around. I was like, what's actually damaging the Queen? Like, how is she, getting beat up? But I really think it was the Heralds. They have like 50 something weapon strength, like 54, 55. And that really did add up over the course of a long battle. On top of that, Hargoneth Executioners paid for themselves in the front line, did very well. Kind of the timing with the Mark of Pain and the Soul Stealer, able to just shatter that Goblin front line. So it was a little bit tough for sure. I don't know if the lads are up to the task of fighting a Dark Elf front line, especially one that's supported by dragons and the Slaanesha's Harvesters. I think if you're playing the Greenskins, he was probably memeing a little bit and bringing a bit of a fun army to try and surprise Professor Pone. But all jokes aside, if you're going to be playing against Dark Elves, I definitely recommend bringing like Black Orcs. So like 3 groups of Black Orcs. I'm not sure. I think with the WA, they would actually beat the Hargoneth Executioners in like a straight up fight. That's just like too powerful. It's giving them like a massive buff to their melee attack and other stats. So yeah. I definitely think that getting the WA is going to be pretty good with the Black Orcs. They'll probably win the frontline engagement. On top of that, I do like the Goblin Firing Squad, but you need to be leaving nasty Skulkers in the back line to defend, because Dark Elves are almost always going to bring a combination of Dark Riders or Slaanesha's Harvesters, Doomfire Warlocks to harass your back line. So you need to be very careful, especially if you're investing in a Doomdiver Catapult and stuff like that. Trolls can be okay. Like, they can actually do pretty well against these Hargoneth troops and stuff like that, but it's a bit of a risky gambit to go that deep into it. I understand he was trying to get the AP and just have like a blitzkrieg of Skulkers stacked on top of Trolls with the WA kind of serving as a force multiplier, but I think it was a little bit risky. So today we're actually I'm trying to get a couple videos out because I'm going to be gone for the week. So we're going to be doing just a bunch of skirmish games. I'll probably tack a couple on to the end of this. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this first game and stay tuned for the next match. Thanks for watching. All right, guys, so now we're back with the second game, which is going to be a showdown between Dov Plays, who's going to be playing Bretonnia, and it looks like he's going to be using the rarely seen Prophetess, kind of like Bigfoot in terms of the in the Total War community. You rarely see it. Who knows if it actually exists, but he does have a Prophetess with the Lore of Life, and he's going to be facing off against Gojira, who's bringing a pretty well-rounded build here. So he has a couple of groups of the Famir Warriors with the Great Weapons, front line of Berserkers, also some Marauders, Wolfric the Wanderer, Deathcaster, I think, that's actually Shadows. It looks like he's going to be using the Skinwolf Werekin. So let's go ahead and take a look at Dov's army. It's going to be very cav heavy. So, I mean, it does technically have an infantry line. He has, I think, 3 groups of the peasant mobs, but it's going to be very micro intensive. So the peasant mobs, I think 1, 2, and 3 spread across the map. So these Berserkers aren't really going to be able to find a home. They're going to have to like get on cav, which is going to be a little bit tricky. On top of that, Dov does have an entire front line of the Mounted Yeoman Archers. So he has a lot of these rarely seen units here. These are the Wardens of Montfort, and they're pretty good. They do poison. This like skirmish squad is going to be really devastating against the Marauder Berserkers. So we'll see how that goes. For the rest of his forces, he does have Grail Knights. He does have the Defenders of Fleur de Lis. Probably said that wrong. I know people in the comments always tell me, but like my brain just is just it's old and degenerating. But anyways, the rest of his army, Knights of the Lionhearted, Knights of the Realm. So the Knights of the Realm definitely can do good shock damage, like even against Berserkers. If he's effective at cycle charging, they'll be able to take out the Skinwolves, but the Famir Warriors with Great Weapons are going to be Dov's biggest obstacle here. Companions, Peasants, and yeah, more Grail Knights on the far side. For Gojira, he's got a front line of the Marauder Berserkers, which is a little bit, definitely ambitious here, because they're going to be taking some heavy charges and some skirmisher fire. But if they were facing off against like a more infantry-heavy Bretonnian army, they could be pretty devastating. But it looks like the Skinwolf Werekin just going full Teen Wolf right here, going to be chasing down these Mounted Yeoman Archers. Wolfric's hot in pursuit, as well as the Skinwolves. Man, they look abnormally fast. 75 speed, but the 90 speed of these Yeomen. They're just going to be falling back to the... it's funny, they're like falling back like, peasants, go fight those werewolves. You'll be fine, don't worry about it. But the Knights of the Bretonnia with a huge downhill charge here. It looks like the Famir Warriors are advancing. He really needs to make sure those Famir are the ones fighting these guys. And it looks like there's going to be a last-second retreat from Gojira. So falling back with the Skinwolf Werekin, Mounted Yeoman Archers just going deep on those guys. And yeah, not getting too much damage, though. So far, the Mounted Yeomen have done a little bit of work, but here comes the volleys of fire. So that's going to start adding up on the Brutes of the Hound, which are going to be a very tough unit to take down there because they're unbreakable. And here comes the Peasants. So the Peasants of Bretonnia, the heroes of their country, are literally being torn to shreds by werewolves. So it's always funny, like, reading the comments after the battles, like, about the Peasants' experience in the fight here. But, like, yes, me lord, we'll go fight those werewolves. So, yeah, anyways, they're getting broken and just routed off. The other group of Peasants on the far side kind of hanging idle. But the Knights of Bretonnia are going to come in. Looks like Grail Knight's going to get a full charge right here on these Famir Warriors. Famir definitely want to turn around and fight them, but it looks like they're trying to fall back to the infantry. It wasn't the most devastating charge. It looks like Gojira actually did a good job pulling that charge in the infantry. Skinwolves in here. You can see some of the Knights are being dragged down, and it looks like there's also going to be a Melkoths or perhaps a Vortex. No, it looks like there's a regrowth going down. But oh no, a Pit of Shades going down. So the Pit of Shades on the Grail Knights doing some good damage. That actually is a lot of damage. Wow, I haven't seen that used in quite some time. But the Pit of Shades is melting those guys. So good stuff from Gojira. So far, Dov's army has engaged over here. The Knights of the Realm, as well as the other supporting knights, look like there's some companions in here, have gotten a pretty good downhill charge on these Familiar with Great Weapons, just trying to work through them with just pure brute force. I mean, he's going to have to get through them eventually. You can see Wulfric does drop his Haggard pirate ship down the ranks, which does some okay damage, but this is a tough fight. Skinwolf Werkin in here does have anti-large, but he is a large target himself, if I'm not mistaken, so he's going to be taking a lot of damage from these Grail Knights, who do a ton of damage against lightly armored large targets. So far, the bounce power is pretty even, though it's still in the middle. I would say no one has a clear advantage. The mounted yeomen in the back are sitting quite comfortably, picking apart these berserkers and skinwolves. And man, these Familiar Warriors with Great Weapons taking a massive pounding from these charges. So I'm a little bit concerned from Norsca. They do have some marauders beating up peasants, which is probably one of the redeeming things that's happening right here. As far as the other stuff, the berserkers are getting a little bit worn down. The Familiar are getting worn down as well, but so are the Knights of Bretonnia. Knights of the Lionhearted, Knights of the Realm here have taken a lot of damage. Still, yeah, pretty healthy group right here. Mounted yeomen are all in relatively good shape, but a very even fight. The berserkers of Norsca are going to be rushing up into the trees, and definitely a good idea. If he can force the fight into the forest here, bigger units, if I'm not mistaken, are penalized in the trees, so it's going to be helpful for him. And Wulfric's still in pretty good shape, and mounted yeomen are not going to have the stopping power to actually finish off these units. So if Gojira can endure this, if he can kind of take this beating and wither this this fire from the Wardens and all these guys, he might be able to pull something out. Although there's a lot of Knights of the Realm here. The Skinwolves are starting to take some heavy damage. Oh no, and there's going to be a massive Grail Knight charge coming in from the back. So they charge up the hill right into the back of those Berserkers and Skinwolves. Definitely going to be some massive damage and casualties. It looks like the Skinwolves are either being killed or routing off here. Look at them. They're just being cut to pieces by the Knights of Bretonnia. And for the first time in the battle, the bounce power looks like it has shifted in the favor of Dob plays here. You can see that the Norskins are definitely being rode down. So Wulfric the Wanderer putting up a bit of a fight, but he is a large target. He's surrounded. He himself doesn't have the best armor piercing. It's not bad, so he's not going to be able to just butcher these knights like Throg, for example. In my opinion, I definitely think Throg is the ideal pick in this matchup. Anti-large, armor piercing, but it looks like the pirate boat coming down, going to be going through the Knights of Bretonnia. Does a little bit of damage. Definitely better against infantry. And this is some very good stuff from Dob plays. He's actually using the mounted yeoman as kind of a secondary pursuing unit, which is something that's really, a lot of people forget that they can be really good at. Like having one or two groups of mounted yeomen, when you take out a high value target like Famir or Skinwolves, you can then chase them off the battlefield and get some pretty good results. So these Familiar Warriors are shattered, and it's looking pretty good for Norsca. Wulfric the Wanderer, one of the champions, not the champion, but one of the champions of the Chaos Gods, is being surrounded with his lieutenant here. You can see Lieutenant Fluffy is just being speared, and it's looking a little bit grim for the boys from the north. The Bretonians, the noble knights, are going to be able to drag them down, no problem. And Dov just has this massive Zerg of the mounted yeomen just charging and just running down the Berserkers. That's actually a pretty cool sight to see. That's very like Lord of the Rings-esque. These guys and these horse archers chasing them down and shooting them as they're trying to run. But yeah, those Berserkers definitely couldn't really find a home based on what Dob, Dob didn't bring any good targets for them. I mean, yes, they're going to kill peasant mobs and they can do okay in sustained combat, but just the pure charges of these Knights of the Realm, who are meant against large, but still have a charge bonus of 68, it's just devastating stuff. So, yeah, that's going to be it. So hopefully you guys enjoyed that second game. We'll go ahead and take a look at the breakdown here. And we'll be jumping into a third match. We're kind of just doing like an open play. So we're just grabbing anyone who's around to battle. So, yeah, I really liked Dov's build. It was cool. It was original. He made the Prophetess work. Lore of Life, obviously very synergistic with Grail Knights and troops like that. And these mounted yeomen, really solid stuff. I mean, they tore apart Berserkers. They're dirt cheap. They chased down rotting units. They picked off Skinwolves. It was really good. And, yeah, liked it. For Gojira's build, I actually... There's a couple things I would change. Number one, Skinwolves don't really have the best AP, so they don't trade very effectively with Bretonnian Knights. And in turn, Skinwolves also get lanced really hard by Bretonnian Knights because they're squishy and they're a large target. The best way to do it, in my opinion, bring a frontline of Marauder champions, like 3 of them. Get a couple Familiar Warriors with great weapons, even like 3. You can get like 2, and then get Throg. So you play this very high and tight game. You also would really want to get Marauder Horsemen with throwing axes to kite Bretonnian heavy cav. Although Dob might have had an answer for that, considering he did have the mounted yeoman here. So there's some back and forth, but... yeah, I would definitely cut the Skinwolves, cut the Berserkers, maybe get like 1 or 2 in the secondary line, but having them, as your primary core is a little bit risky against Bretonnia, in my opinion. But Marauder Champions, Familiar Warrior with great weapons, really, really good pick here. The Shadowcaster is good. Skinwolf Werkin, definitely not bad. But I think you need some Marauder Horsemen throwing axes, or you can even get the infantry with javelins, and at least you can kind of counterplay a little bit. But Dov's army might have been tough to handle for even that, simply because of his wardens and other troops like that. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this second game. We'll be back with game 3. I think it's going to be a showdown between Dob and Professor Pone, but we'll see who's still around. So thanks again for watching, guys, and we'll see you in game 3. All right, guys, and now we're back with the third and final game for the day, which is going to be a showdown between Professor Pone, who's going to be using the High Elves led by the Angry Pigeon Lady, Trash Dev Lady, whatever you guys want to call her, Alariel the Radiant, and he's going to be facing off against Dob Plays, who's going to be using the Empire, and I think he actually has like an Arch Lector somewhere around here. Looks like there's a warrior priest. I know there's an archlector lurking somewhere. And it looks like he's on horseback, so he's probably going to be leading a contingent. Actually, the Royal Altar of Griffites, that's going to be some good stuff. But as far as the Omis, that doesn't make sense. As far as the armies for Professor Pone, he has a front line of spearmen, so against Empire, you don't really need like the best infantry. Honestly, like High Elf spearmen can even hold back greatswords for quite some time. So just kind of holding here with the front line of the spears and using his elite troops in the back. So he does have Sisters of Averlorn, as well as the Everqueen's Court Guard. So he has a lot of nasty firepower going on. And the Pigeon Lady's definitely going to be pretty useful with the Dragon Princes. So he does have the Fireborn as well as a group of regular Dragon Princes. So if he can get these guys on the appropriate targets, for example, even fighting the Royal Altar of Griffites, and then use the Star of Averlorn, he can mitigate so much of that damage coming in from the Empire. So I really like that. A little bit risky, but Empire doesn't have Lore of Death, so you don't need to worry about like Fate of Buna or anything like that. But I feel like someday they might add like Elspeth von Draken for the Empire to give them like Lore of Death. I think that would be really cool in like Game 3. On the other side, it looks like more Dragon Princes. So yeah, he's got some pretty good missile play as well as flank pressure. His infantry a little bit lacking, but you can get away with that against the Empire. For job plays, he's got Outriders, and he's Zandler's Reichsguard. So yeah, Zandler's Reichsguard going to have trouble. I mean, if they can outmaneuver the spears and get into the back line, but there's so many Dragon Princes, all of which are essentially just better versions of the Zandler's Reichsguard. But the Outriders can do some huge damage against against some of these elite cav. They have pretty good armor piercing themselves, so it's going to come down to that. For Jov's main army, got spearmen with shields here in the front line, definitely a solid choice. Two groups of greatswords with warrior priests, so suddenly these greatswords are going to get a lot stronger. The warrior priests can give them huge melee attack buffs and give them kind of a presence there. So I don't know, Dob Plays might be able to win that frontline engagement and get through to the Everqueen's Court Guards in the back. He's got more Reichsguard here. He's got a cannon, which I would assume is the Hammer of the Witches. It's magic damage, circumventing the natural physical resist, I think, of the Dragon Princes. And the Archlector is going to be leading the Royal Altar of Griffites, which is going to be pretty great, just gangster stuff. So we do have a skirmisher over here already. You can see that the Pigeon Lady did try and chase down these Outriders, and it looks like she took some Overwatch fire, so taking a bit of a poke. She doesn't have like natural or healing over time like a vampire would or anything, so she's actually going to have to use a heal. Get her up and use some Winds of Magic. So the Dragon Prince is advancing. The forces of Professor Pone are all kind of moving forward. They're going to have to, because Hammer the Witches is going to start, as its name would infer, hammering these Dragon Princes and burn the witches. Every time I hear like Hammer the Witches, I think of that like Rob Zombie song. I don't know. The one, like, I think it's called like Dragula, where he's like, burn through the witches. It just makes me think of that. But anyways, the Hammer the Witches coming in and taking out these Dragon Princes, shooting at the edge of the formation. Definitely wants to be aiming at the center. So maybe the forces of the Empire will reallocate calibrate their aim there. The Pigeon Lady getting some kills actually on the Outriders. Looks like she takes out 4 models. And the Fireborn, as well as the Dragon Princes, swooping around, going after the Zandler's Reichsguard. But Zov is probably going to be falling back, getting some spears and supporting units. Maybe he'll take that fight once the Royal Altar of Griffites get over here, but it looks like they're staying on the far side to fend off these princes. If I were Job, I'd probably just grab these guys and just go after these princes. He can win that engagement even with the Star of Averlorn. And these Fireborn are taking some damage here. So the Outriders, very good stuff, just kind of falling back, getting some great tactical shots here. And now the Hammer of the Witches has switched on to the Fireborn. So very, very good stuff there. Melting those very high value targets. And unfortunately for the High Elves, their magic doesn't resurrect like the Vampire count. So every model that gets taken out on the Fireborn is going to be just huge value. In the meantime, the Everqueen's Court Guard coming up a little bit short. Not the most accurate of their people. Not able to take out too many of those Outriders. Looks like they don't even get a single model with those volleys there. But they're going to keep advancing nonetheless. Professor Pone probably going to hide these cav in the trees or just get really aggressive and push forward. He kind of has to. He's in a bit of a pinch here. He has to make the choice. The Empire has the ranged advantage. Hence, it kind of puts the burden of engagement on him. So right here, the Royal Altar of Griffites is going to be charging in for a very climactic charge. It looks like the Dragon Prince is going to turn around and take the charge at the last second. The Archlector here definitely going to be giving some buffs. So the Grand Hammer of Sigmar going down. This is going to be an extremely one-sided engagement. Although False Protection going down. And the Star of Averlorn. Is it the Heart of Averlorn? I always get that wrong. Star of Averlorn. So getting some pretty fat healing off, but that's still going to go for the Royal Altar of Griffites, I think, with the Archlector there. Archlector. Man, I don't know why I say it that way. Anyways, over here, the Royal Altar of Griffites are busy fighting on the far side, but the Fireborn and other guys are trying to find a home. It looks like these guys are actually going to charge in. So these Reichsguard taking a very uphill charge. They're obviously going to lose this. But they're holding them in place, which is going to allow the Outriders and other supporting units. But it looks like there's going to be another charge to the Reichsguard, so trying to just dogpile on these guys and maybe just win through attrition. But you can see the Zandler's Reichsguard are just getting hammered by the Fireborn, even though they're really beat up. In the meantime, Professor Pone's Sisters of Averlorn and the Everqueen's Court Guards are shooting into the Greatswords. It looks like the Outriders for Dob Plays are repositioning, and they're going to shoot at the Trash Pigeon up in the air. But the Bounce of Power pretty starkly in Dob Plays' favor out of the gates. And man, the Archlector over here, plus these Royal Altar of Griffites, really put a spanking on those cav. That was really tough. So, I mean, they're in pretty much perfect shape. They didn't lose a single model in that engagement with the buffs from the Archlector as well as the Life Wizard. So very, very good stuff right there. Professor Pone's Archers, it looks like the Everqueen's Court Guards are going to be rotating over to take out the Royal Altar of Griffites. see how they do. So they shoot in there, doing some pretty substantial damage, but this backline is pretty open. Professor Pone could potentially detach some of these spearmen to get back there, but look at that fire coming in. 4 models just getting roasted. The Everqueen's Court Guards doing massive armor-piercing damage against these Royal Altar of Purifights. This beautiful stuff right here as they charge in. This is some straight-up Last Samurai stuff. Are they going to make it in? They might actually get taken out before they get in. They're steady. They're taking a lot of damage. They're probably going to be shaken here in a moment, but they get the charge. They get onto the Everqueen's Court Guards. Did I just see one of those Royal Altar of Purifights like breathe fire? I could have sworn I saw that. Anyone who's watching, like if you want to watch that back, let me know, that'd be great. But the Archlector does get in here. He's going to start hammering some of these sisters, doing a pretty good job. And it looks like the trash pigeon lady, she went back there and she kind of got whooped on by some of these outriders, it looks like. They must have shot her down plus the hammer. So she's actually broken off, which is going to be, spell some major problems here for the High Elves. Professor Pone's Fireborn are winning this engagement over here. The Zantler's Reiksguard do get broken, and the other group of Dragon Princes is easily going to be able to dispatch these Reiksguard. Granted, with regrowth, maybe not. I still think the Dragon Princes are probably going to win that. They're just a very, very powerful troop. Hammer the Witch is still shooting across the battlefield, able to take out some of those Fireborn. So this thing is generating some massive value. And Dov has done a really good job with kind of his spatial positioning in this game. He has everything pretty far apart, so whenever the High Elves want to take an engagement and go after something, they have to really commit, therefore taking fire on the approach. So I really like that. The Archlector in here is going to be engaging with his infantry, coming to his people. It's pretty cool to see him used, and I really like it. Look at him, he just has like an arrow in his head. That's so ridiculous. Man, Professor Pone dishing out some huge damage, trying to pull back into the game. If Professor Pone could actually kill the Archlector with his fire, he might be able to get back into the game. It does pull the bounce fire back towards the middle, but these heroes of the people, the Royal Altar of Purifights, are just charging back in here, and it looks like they're going to be fighting against Everqueen's Court Guards, but the Star of Avalorn is going down, doing quite a bit of healing on these guys, and the Court Guards might be able to fight them off. 63 melee defense, huge healing topping them off, and you can see the Royal Altar of Purifights are actually shaken, and this happens to me all the time when I get on the Everqueen's Court Guards. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to get them, but they're actually beasts in melee, so very, very good stuff from both players. And it looks like the Archlector is taking a bit of damage. Some Dragon Prince is poking on him. And it looks like the Trash Pigeon has come back into the battlefield. She's actually really good, so that name doesn't make sense. Alariel's a very good lord. But anyway, she comes back in here. She drops an Earthblood, it looks like, on the Dragon Princes, which is going to kind of turn the tide of this engagement. And Dogplay still has a lot of ammunition on his Outriders, so they can potentially do some pretty good work, pick off these Fireborn. It's actually become a relatively close game. So the Sisters of Avalorn are still going after the Archlector. And if if Professor Pone can chase off the Lector here and maybe get some good healing and some more value from his missiles, maybe he could actually get back in this game. It's hard to say. I mean, yeah, very, very back and forth stuff here. So you can see the Outriders are trying to save their lord. If they can get in position, because Outriders can shoot while moving, but not like 360. So if they're chasing something, they can apply Overwatch fire. So you can see they're getting some work on the Alariel over here. Looks like she's going to be using a Phos Protection to mitigate some of that damage, although I don't think it'll help too much. But the Spearmen with the shields are fighting against the High Elf Spearmen, a very grindy matchup in the front line. The Sisters of Avalorn looks like they pushed forward, probably trying to get some firepower here in the back line somewhere. It looks like they might have dropped orders, unfortunately. But the Dragon Princes are swarming, and these are Zantler's Reiksguard, so they're coming in trying to intercept the Dragon Princes. But if Professor Pone can shut down the Hammer of the Witches, that could just be absolutely game-changing. This thing has just been doing massive, devastating damage against these elite High Elf forces the entire game. So man, what a game, and oh, look at those Fireborn just getting pounded there. They only have 6 models, but despite the fact they only have 6 models, and they're taking firepower from one of the best artillery pieces in the game, they're still just being resolute, fighting against these Zantler's Reiksguard and the Light Wizard. And man, what a wild game. So over here you can see the Greatswords of the Empire pushing through, and this could spell the end for the High Elves. Though the game is kind of back and forth and things are looking better for the High Elves, I think the Everqueen's Court Guards are probably going to get cut down by these Greatswords and some of these other troops here. So they're wading forward, trying to take down the Everqueen's Court Guard, but looks like they're kind of getting kited. 36 speed to 28. Man, Greatswords are really slow. I feel like they would be a little bit faster, but these Spearmen are also chasing here. Not a good situation for the Sisters. And let's see if we can find Alariel. So she has gotten the Arcane Conduit. She's pretty damn low. A couple heavy volleys here could put her down. Yeah, down to 200 HP, so that did about 600 damage. What a beautiful volley from the Outriders. And the Spearmen, I think that Professor Pone realizes it's kind of he might as well just fight, because the Everqueen's Court Guards, or these Sisters of Avalorn, can probably beat these guys in melee, to be honest. They have really, really good stats. Kind of a cool hybrid unit. But the Everqueen's Court Guards here on the far side are shooting at the Greatswords. It looks like some of the Dragon Princes are charging in to assist this last group of Spearmen. And the Fireborn, all 5 of them, have actually shut down the Hammer of the Witches. And honestly, these 5 Fireborn might even be able to kill that Jade Wizard. So that's probably why he's retreating. Actually, he's on foot, so their bonus versus large wouldn't help. But yeah, the Hammer of the Witch is most likely going to be shut down here. Professor Pone's forces are being compromised for the most part. The Greatswords and the Warrior Priests are pushing forward for Sigmar. Doing a very, very good job here. And I think this is going to be the beginning of the end for the High Elves. But this has been a great game. Very back and forth stuff. The Outriders just charging forward. Probably going to be charging into the Everqueen's Court Guards. I think just sheer numbers are going to bring them down now. And I think their Lord is gone. The Alariel Radiant, I always I don't know why her name always eludes me, but it looks like she's off the battlefield for the most part, so I think the Outriders have done a pretty good job chasing her off. Dragon Prince is still kind of fighting to the bitter end, but I think there's just too many Imperial forces, and the Fireborn retreating from that cannon crew. So the valiant defenders of the Hammer of the Witches over here on the far side were able to chase off the Fireborn, which has been some wild stuff. So yeah, good stuff from both players. It was a pretty close game, back and forth. I think this engagement over here where he was able to basically kill a group of Dragon Princes, a very expensive high-value unit, and lose almost nothing in return was pretty solid for sure. Fireborn slamming here into the back of the Greatswords. Looks like there still is some Overwatch fires, so those Sisters of Avalorn just beat the brakes off those Spearmen. Just absolute massacre, so they're going to start shooting into these Greatswords here. Potentially netting some value, but they're pretty damn low on ammunition. They only have like 1 or 2 volleys left, so they're going to have to come fight. And it looks like the mighty Professor Pone is going to get slapped with army losses. So very well played to both players. It was a very fun game. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that one. And also my apologies, I don't know if you guys can hear it, but my fans are just out of control. I'm actually ordered some new fans, so in the next couple days, those will be coming in. The great Italian Spartacus will be helping me to install those, but yeah, it was a great game. I mean, the Greatswords did great. I mean, they didn't do bad at all, actually. I was pretty impressed with their performance, but I really think kind of the crux of the game was, the issue for the High Elves was getting that one Dragon Prince group just taken out so badly. I think if he had advanced in a little bit of a higher and tighter formation, like kept the Dragon Princes tight to the spears and just gone right up the pipe and then flanked up and around, but it was tough. Dov had some really good spatial control against heavy cav with the Outriders and the Hammer of the Witches. And of course, the Royal Outsurf Griffites teamed with the Archlector was pretty strong. So yeah, very good stuff. So again, very well played to all the players in this little series today, to the Great Dov Plays, Professor Pone, and Gojira. There will absolutely be links to their channels in the comment section below. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So if you guys do hear the fans now, let me know. I'm quite curious if you guys can hear those. If not, I guess it's not too big of an issue. But thanks again for watching. Hopefully you guys enjoyed, and we will see you guys next time.